Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Wealthy Dentist Podcast. I'm your host, Ward Powell. And if you're a dentist looking to crack the code on how to grow your practice and dominate in this space, then stick around. You're in the right place. Every week, we're sitting down with some amazing dentists who are doing incredible things in their businesses. We're talking about everything from how they keep their teams loyal and dedicated to how they stay ahead of the game in this crazy, fast-changing industry. You'll hear about hacks like using virtual assistants to free up your time, strategies to make more sales with less effort, and even mind-blowing stories about patents and inventions that are changing the industry as we know it. And it's not just about growing your practice, it's also about finding out what works from a clinical perspective. Whether you're just starting or you're ready to scale to the next level, there's something here for you. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's dive in. Oh, good afternoon, the wealthy dentists, people out there in the wealthy dentist world. We want to bring your attention to a wonderful, wonderful matchmaking dentist. She's still working, semi-retired, but she's really doing something I think is worth a listen to and some. And she'll be able to explain all of that as we have this conversation about matchmaking dentists. If you want to sell your practice, she's there to help you to do that with very to little, no cost to you.
Yeah.
So she's going to explain that. Her name is Dr. Bridgett Jorgensen, and she's going to give it to you the way she sees it. So I would like to, uh, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Jorgensen, for joining us this afternoon and having the time to share this wonderful opportunity for those that are ready to make that transition and go fishing and whatever else they golf,
Yeah.
whatever else they do after their career. So
It's nice to be here.
yes, thank you for being here. I just want to say and ask, you know, 30 years ago, what got you involved in the field of dentistry? What happened there?
Um, I always liked smiles and teeth, and I got married really, really young. I got married a few months after I graduated from high school, so I was 17.
Oh,
So I went back to my orthodontist that I had braces until my senior year. So I went back to him and I'm like, hey, I really like teeth. What should I do? And this is a very lower middle class town. I was not from anyone that had went to college at all.
mhm.
And he's like, well, you need to be a hygienist. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. What is that? Because the only thing that I'd gone to the dentist and they use the Profi cup and I'm like, and he told me how much they made, which at the time was about $13, $14 an hour, which was actually really high for that time because our minimum wage was $3. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. So I started some of the pre-classes up in Illinois, and then my husband got transferred down to Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
And I ended up finishing hygiene school down here.
Mhm.
Worked for 2 years and loved hygiene, but my husband pointed out you'll never get promoted to dentist. So if you want to do anything else, you're going to need to go back to school. So I did. I went back and we moved back up to Illinois because at the time, if your parents lived there, you still could get in-state tuition, which is very different from it is now.
Correct.
So we moved back up to Illinois and I went to school for 4 years and graduated with a dental degree. And then we moved back down to Atlanta because we liked it.
So which school in Illinois?
Southern Illinois University.
Southern. Okay,
Hmm.
Southern Illinois University. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, great. And husband had the I mean like I mean bless his heart. And that's all I say. I mean like he had your best interest in mind.
He
And
absolutely always does. Yes. We've been married 43 years.
oh,
So
that is great.
yeah.
That is wonderful. So tell me a little bit about the matchmaking dental organization that you all created, this family created.
Yes, it did. So our daughter as is a dentist also, and during COVID, her doctor laid her off. Everybody, wasn't working, and didn't really communicate a lot with her as far as when she was going to come back. Well, they had just bought a house, and she needed to know she could make these house payments, and it didn't look like he really wanted, to give them a lot of information or any plan. And she's like, well, the only way I'm going to be able to control my own destiny is to buy a practice. And so, but she didn't want to put it out there because if she couldn't find a practice, she needed to go back to work there, if he opened up again. So I live in a neighboring state and I put a post on Facebook in her group under my regular name because you couldn't do it anonymously, saying that I am moving to Alabama and I would like to buy a practice. And that was not true. I just needed to find her practices that were available.
Yeah.
We had about 4 or 5 people respond, and
Wow.
she ended up buying one of those practices.
Awesome.
And it has been the very best thing for her ever.
Wow.
But when we were going through this with her, we realized, we're private practice dentists are definitely losing out to the big corporate dentists now. The corporate dentists will snatch up, the students as soon as they get out of school because they're offering, guaranteed income and a lot of things that new dentists need. But private practice offers that too. It's just that the dentist getting out of school or the dentist moving to a new location, they don't know how to find those jobs or those practices. So we thought, well, if we created a Facebook group, and we have a lot of friends that are retiring or selling. Our daughter had a lot of practice or a lot of friends that were wanting to purchase a practice or wanting to get a job. So at the beginning, we started it. It's called Dental Practice Matchmaker. We had about 100 dentists, and we are now just a couple hundred short of 20,000 dentists on the group.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So it's a lot. So that just means that there is interest in people staying in private practice. We hear all the naysayers saying, "Oh, it's all going to go corporate," but most people that go to dental school don't do it because they want to work in a corporate office and have an office manager tell them what they can and cannot charge or do. So I think there's a lot of interest in people still wanting to purchase practices or be in a private practice where they're a partner or at least an associate where people care about their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So it grew really fast. We started in 2021
Wow.
and yeah, so it's gone really quickly. And then last year we started an app because Facebook um, is fantastic and everybody puts a lot of posts on there, but a lot of them don't tag their posts with where the location is or any information. So we have a way of contacting the people even if they post anonymously, and then we take that information, keep it anonymous, but we put it into an app and it's listed under every state. So every state has 4 different columns. They have practices that are hiring, practices that are selling, dentists that are looking for a job, and then dentists that want to buy a practice.
That is
So all
excellent.
4 of those are under each state, and you can go directly to that. And that app is only $30 a month, and you can cancel at any time because if you find your dream practice, you don't need to be on there anymore. But we had to keep it low because it's mostly aimed to people that are looking for jobs or looking for practices, and dentists are not making the amount of money that they were years ago because they are in these corporate situations. So we didn't want to price it out for anybody. So we've kept it really low, and that has been our mission. Our mission is definitely not financial. It has been to help the community because we've both been in the dental industry for over 40 years. So, we've just seen it change and maybe not for the best sometimes. So we're aiming in a different direction.
Mm. I think that is awesome. I think that's something that the community definitely needs
Hmm.
to just to hop on an app for 30. I mean, you spend that on what do they call some of these prime
Yeah.
watching television or whatever it
Hmm.
is.
Yeah.
People,
Streaming services. Yeah.
yeah, $15, $30. I mean, hey, not much difference, right? And then if you it happen to be in the business, which normally people would be in the business if they're going to get, become a part of your organization. I mean, like this is really, really a
Yeah.
cost-effective way and an efficient way,
Mhm.
to go ahead and try to find a place that you want to work or a place that you
Right.
want to buy. That's
Because it's strictly dentist to dentist. They do not go through us other than I verify to make sure they're a dentist before they get into the group. And then we have to have a verifiable email address if they want into the app. But other than that, we don't interfere at all. We don't get a percentage of anything. So Facebook is completely free. We developed the app because we were paying some people to do a lot of stuff for us. So we have somebody that's in marketing. Our daughter's a dentist. Our son's an attorney. My husband does computers. So we have been able to have people find matches without having to go through brokers and recruiters, which brokers and recruiters are very expensive. I mean, I was flabbergasted that recruiters can charge like 40 or $50,000 for to find an associate for you. And I was like, oh my goodness.
yeah, it is.
But we don't get anything like that. So we are strictly for people to match each other.
Yeah, if you take a whole year, I mean, $30,
Yeah,
that's
$360. Yeah.
yeah, $360. I mean, how
Mhm.
is it going to hurt your pocketbook?
Nope, not at all.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So tell me, so you're working what, twice a week?
So I sold my practice to another dentist. She worked for me for 2.5 or 3 years, and I sold it to her in 2018. And the first year, I think I worked 1 day a week. And then the second year, I worked 1 day a month. And I'm like, that's not really a month. So now I work 2 days in the same week, once a month. And then if she goes on vacation, she has little kids. So if she takes spring break or stuff like that, I will cover for her. So it has been a win-win for both of us. I still get to see my favorite patients, but I am not, doing the day-to-day of running a practice, which is a full-time, no matter how much you're working, the running the practice is a full-time job.
Absolutely. And you said your husband helps a lot on that end too, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Yep. Well, it was really cool because he started something called Lighthouse 360 many years ago, and then he sold his business in around 2013. So, he has a lot of knowledge about dental companies in general, and then he's launched a couple of different ones. So we just have a unique background that, he has all the business dental and I have all the clinical dental. And then, with our children, it's really it's worked out fabulous that we can offer this to everybody.
Mm. So, yeah, so talk to me a little bit more about your business
Mhm.
versus a broker. Can you get a little bit more into?
Brokers tend to charge about 10%. So if you have a $1 million practice but you don't want everybody to know that you are selling. So you could probably put it on something called LoopNet, which is a just a real estate sales, but sometimes they sell businesses on there. Um, then everybody's going to know that you're selling, and you may not want that. Well, if you go to a broker, you have the anonymity because they're the middleman. So you list your practice with them, and then somebody contacts them to buy a practice. But they charge 10%, which is for a $1 million practice, that's $100,000 for an introduction. They do usually provide some form of contract and the letter of intent, but um, you still have to pay for an attorney to review it, and you still have to pay for an accountant usually to kind of get everything set up to sell.
And that,
And those court that's not included in the broker fee. So you're
mm,
paying 100,000 plus all these little percentages that probably add up to another 10,000 or so.
mhm.
So, you've created this practice and you've had it for 25, 30 years. You're going to sell it for $1 million. You're only going to net, a little over 800 probably after you pay for everything. And that's not fair. I mean, it really isn't, especially when there are dentists out there that are looking for practices, but they don't know where all the brokers are. They don't know who to contact or who has what listed. And a lot of the brokers will only offer you, it's not like the MLS system where you can see any houses for sale. They will offer you the practices they have for sale. They may be a small broker and they have four practices in all of Atlanta, and they're like, "Oh, you got to buy one of these." And it's like, "Well, none of those fit me." And they're like, "Oh, well." So this just offers people to see almost anything that is available out there that people are, if we have 20,000 people in there, so we have a lot in each category.
So you're covering almost all 50 states, huh?
We are covering all 50 states, and we have some people in Canada, couple people in England. We try and tell them we don't have a lot of listings there, but they still want to join. It's like, okay, that's fine.
Oh, that's cool. So you're saying people from England are jumping onto your Facebook group?
They
And
are, and it may be because they are moving to the US, and
right.
it's so much easier to find a job before you move than to
Right.
move and then figure out where you're going to live, you
Right,
know?
right.
And that happens even for dental students. My daughter was raised in Georgia. She went up to Boston to go to school. Well, when she was done with school, she actually ended up moving with her husband to Birmingham. But if she was out of school and she didn't really know where she wanted to go, she could have put something on our Facebook group saying, "Hey, I want to come to Alabama or I want to go to Arizona. Is there anybody looking for an associate in these areas?" And then we have people that are posting the exact opposite. "Hey, my associate just left and I need a replacement. Anybody interested in working in Arizona?" So it's really the best way for people to find each other.
Yes, yes, yes. So can you talk to me a bit about this OOM, OON,
Oh, out of network. Do you not know what out of network is?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's hear that. Let's talk about.
Okay, so I've been out of network my entire career. So I graduated in 92. So this is my 32nd year in practice.
Mhm.
Um, and DSOs were not a big thing, although they were a little bit because I worked for one, but it certainly wasn't the majority of dental offices years ago. And
Okay.
then slowly over the last 30 something years, we've seen a lot more corporate offices kind of take over. So people and the corporate offices tend to take any insurance. They're like, if whatever you have, we will take. Well, if you stay out of if you are in network, you have to abide by the prices that the insurance offers you. And that may sound good, but like right after COVID, Cigna sent out a thing to everyone saying, "Hey, we're reducing the fees that we've been paying you by 30%."
Oh my
And
goodness.
everybody knows, during COVID, inflation was so incredible. We couldn't buy gloves for under $15 a box. So our prices skyrocketed. And the insurance company, because they have you under a contract, and the contract says you will only offer your services for this amount of money, no one had a way of even charging the patient a little bit more. So people were going out of business, and that doesn't happen in dentistry, traditionally. But I've been out of network my whole career. But we do make it easier for patients. So fee for service means that if a patient comes in, you give them an estimate of what you're going to do, and say it's $1,500. Um, if you are fee for service, usually before you start the treatment, they have to give you $1,500, and then you do the treatment. You might send off insurance for that patient, but the insurance is going to pay the payment or pay the patient. If you are out of network, you can still charge your $1,500, but you get 100% of that because you've maybe done a pre-estimate, so you know what insurance is going to pay.
Hmm.
Say insurance is going to pay half of that, they pay half, and then on the day of service, the patient only has to pay half because we know we're getting money from the insurance company. So it makes it more palatable than to pay out the entire amount, on the day of service. We accept whatever your insurance isn't going to pay, you pay us, then we get money from your insurance. If insurance doesn't pay, then we will come back to you and say, hey, you need to pay us this extra. But really, our systems are so good with the pre-estimates that rarely happens.
Oh,
And you have to be aware, like if you're sending off somebody for a root canal and you're sending them to a specialist, you have to know in your head, okay, that the specialist is going to take the majority of their benefits for this year. So they're going to need a crown after this root canal, but you tell them when you're diagnosing, hey, you're going to go, you're going to get your root canal done. They're going to take most of your insurance. So you're going to still have to pay for your crown out of pocket. And
mhm.
patients understand that. If you tell them ahead of time, hey, this may end up costing this much, they're fine with it. If you don't tell them until way afterwards and then bill them and they're surprised because they thought insurance was going to pay out, that's where the problems arise. But we're so open book, we give everybody estimate, or we give them 100% what we're going to charge, and then we send off a pre-estimate. Insurance comes back and says how much they're going to pay, and then they only have to pay that difference when they come into our office. So it's a little bit different. If you're in network, you are accepting whatever insurance pays you. Sometimes the patient pays, sometimes they don't, so it gets complicated. It gets very complicated.
Yeah, that can be very nerve-wracking if you would.
Hmm.
You think you're getting one thing and you're not getting another, and all of a sudden,
And all of a sudden you have a $3,000 bill and you're like, where'd this come from?
yeah, right, right.
Mhm.
Wow, wow. So, how did you like? You knew that you wanted to be fee for service. You knew that you wanted to be out of network.
Well, I was a hygienist before dental school. And
Okay.
so there wasn't, and I did front desk also. So I got to see claims coming through and I knew how insurance worked.
Mm,
They teach very little about insurance and business in general in dental school.
absolutely.
I was very lucky. My husband has a business degree, and
Mhm,
then I had already worked in a couple different offices under, as a hygienist and front desk. So I knew how everything worked. I
mhm,
knew you could send off a pre-estimate and they would tell you how much they're going to pay. But if you're a dentist and you just get out of school, and you don't know a lot about how this insurance works, you're like, oh, well, they're going to be fair to me. They're going to, offer me patience. And that's what their thing is. They're like, we will give you patience. You'll be on our special list. But in order to be on that list, you have to accept these reduced fees. And years ago, probably wasn't that bad. It was like a 10% reduction.
mhm,
Now it's much closer to like a 50% reduction in what a normal fee is and what insurance will cap their fee as. So it gets really close to where you're not making a profit anymore. Now hygienists are making, $60, $70 an hour. And some of the insurance companies will pay you maybe, $50 for a cleaning. Well, you're going in the hole, just by accepting those fees.
mhm.
And I realized pretty early on that we didn't have to accept those fees if we just increased our marketing. And that's what we did. We marketed a ton. We got 35 new patients a month
Wow.
for years and years and years and years. I mean, it was very steady, but we did everything. We did, mailers. We did, we had a website probably a lot earlier than a lot of the dentists just because my husband was into computer stuff. But, we did direct mail, we did flyers, we did every door direct mail through the post office. We did television, we did radio commercials. So, you just have to get your name out there and don't assume that people are not going to come to you because you're not in network, because most people are, that's not the first thing they're looking for. They are looking for a quality dentist that will take care of them and their family and fair prices. And we never priced our stuff outrageous. We priced it to where we could make a profit and we could still offer the very best dentistry and get the best employees, because that that kind of ties into everything. You need to be able to pay your employees well,
Yeah.
but you still need to be able to make a profit.
Oh, wow. Wow. So being a hygienist, uh,
Mhm.
working at the front desk, desk gave you that opportunity to see through another lens.
It
And
really did.
yeah, it gave you the opportunity,
Mhm.
like, well, I know how I want to run my business when I figure.
And between hygiene, when I quit hygiene, but I didn't start dental school for about 2 years.
Hmm.
I didn't quit hygiene, but I temped because I was going to school too. So,
Hmm.
so I probably went to 100 different offices in Atlanta
Yeah.
because you're temping for 2 years. You're going to a lot of different places. So I saw things that worked really well, and I saw things that were horrible.
That's awesome.
So I did. I had a really, really good view of what I wanted for my practice. And then I worked at a DSO when I first got out, and I met my best friend, and she is still my best friend, but we opened a practice together
Yeah.
in 1994.
Okay.
She left after a couple of years because she married my brother-in-law and they needed to kind of be doing their own stuff. And then I had an associate that had twins and then another child, and she's like, I can't come back. And I was like, I
I
totally get that.
agree.
So I went back to my best friend and said, "Hey, will you come back and work?" And she's like, "Absolutely." And we worked together for 8 years. She ended up buying her own practice about 30 miles from us, kind of when the recession was going in 2008, 2009,
Yeah, yeah.
because things did shrink and there was enough business for one dentist, really.
Mm.
But it was fabulous. And she had been an assistant when she was in high school and then had always worked for her dentist. And she went to dental school kind of the traditional way. I did not go the traditional way. So we really had a very symbiotic relationship where we both had been on the other side. You know, we had been employees in a dental office. So we knew what to offer to make people happy. We also have on-site childcare in our office
Yeah, yeah.
because I
That was
have 4 kids.
yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, so it has been, we lost nobody during COVID. Not one single employee quit because they could bring their kids to the office. You know, during lunch, they were doing homeschooling or whatever they needed to do. It's just it's been a great environment. And if you offer that to people, they stay with you. There's more of a loyalty than, somebody's offered them, $2 more an hour, but we're offering free childcare. That's a worth a lot more.
You're so nurturing. I
Hmm.
mean, throughout your career, I mean, you not only had four children, beautiful, wonderful, productive
Hmm.
children, but man, you
Yeah.
also saw some other things that you can do to nurture not only your business and the people that were working for you, but the community at large. You
Hmm.
got these 20,000 or so people at Facebook, you got the app going. I mean, and then the matchmaking thing. Oh, this is just wonderful. So you're helping people throughout your career.
I've
That's how you
tried.
great. That's wonderful. So I mean, I'm like, what have we missed so far? I know there's a lot more that you haven't.
Not really. I mean, I did things a little unconventionally by getting married really young, but we didn't have kids until we had been married 10 years. I was a junior in dental school when I
Wow.
had my first one. I wouldn't
Oh,
recommend that. That's not a great time to have a baby, but it all worked out. And then, when we started the practice in 94, we already had two children. So it wasn't very conducive, and we were staying open late, so we were doing that. If you're not in insurance, you do have to offer some things that other people don't offer. So we offered late hours and early
yes,
morning hours, but
yes,
that's not very conducive to
right,
a child care drop-off center.
right.
So we actually bought a pediatrician's office, and years ago, I haven't been to a pediatrician in a while, but they used to have a well waiting room and a sick waiting room. So
Mm,
this office had that. It had a well waiting room and a sick waiting room. We put a one-sided mirror in between the two rooms. One was childcare, which we had someone in there watching the children, but parents could be in the reception room and just look into the one-way mirror, and their kids couldn't see them, but they could see that they were being taken care of while they went and got, their treatment. But we also were a huge favorite for a lot of homeschoolers because a lot of offices won't make appointments for like the whole family to come in because if the whole family doesn't show up, you've lost a whole morning of production. Well, we accepted those patients because they would come in with their three children and two adults, and we could just cycle them through. The kids would go into childcare until we were ready for them, and then we would have parents come in. They'd have kids with them, but they weren't getting treatment. They would get their work done. They would come back out and sit in the waiting room just to relax because somebody else was watching their kids for, another 20, 30 minutes. So we got a great following for that. And when we first started the practice, we were the only female dentist in this area. So we got really good at treating kids. We didn't have a pedodontist in this area. We do now, but I would say still about a third of our practice is children. So we see a lot of kids and got really good at it too. All you have to do is be fast for the most part, because kids will only let you participate in their mouth for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then you got to be doing something else. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
worked.
Okay. Right. So, what do you think is going to be happening in the next 5 to 10 years on the technological side of things of
Um,
dentistry?
I don't know. I mean, scanning is pretty cool. I mean, it is so nice to be able to scan something, send it to the lab, and then be able to talk to somebody, within 15 or 20 minutes. Hey, this is what we need to do with this. And it didn't work like that before when you're handwriting your lab slips and you're mailing them off or you're waiting for the lab to come get them. I mean, it's very different.
Mm.
Intraoral cameras has changed everything. And if people don't have intraoral cameras at this point, they're only hurting themselves because that cells treatment. I mean, I can tell you what you've got going on in your mouth, but if you can see it on a huge screen because I've got a camera in there, that makes an impression and people are like, "Oh, I this really looks bad. I need to do something about it." So, I mean, technology is going to keep going. I mean, all the artificial intelligence that's going on now has made communicating a lot easier, I think. But you still have to have I mean, we can't ever do anything completely automated because I I can't imagine that a robot would at this point be able to go into somebody's mouth and cut the kind of stuff that we do. It's very intricate and it's very you're dealing with not just a thing. Like if a surgeon has a person laying there, they are laying flat, they are out, they can cut them, and maybe you can do some kind of robotic stuff. Our patients aren't out. They are conscious, they are moving around, their tongue is moving. So it's not quite as easy to put an automated system in there. You're always going to need people in dentistry. So as much as I love the automation, I do know that it's not going to put us out of business anytime in the near future.
Very good point.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, because it's just a small area, and
Yeah.
that machine is not going. I mean, I don't see it feeling okay. This person's about to move, so I better
Yeah.
shut.
No, it doesn't.
I understand totally. Yes.
Mhm.
So, what has been some of the challenges, a major, if you were to think of a major challenge that you've had throughout your career, what would that be, and how could you, uh,
Well, I think a
what-
lot of people, as soon as insurance was doing a lot of marketing and doing these PPO networks,
Hmm.
everybody was saying, well, you need to join this. That's the only way you're going to get patients. And being able to say, you know what, I think I know my practice better and I can get patients to come in without taking lesser fees. And I feel very bad for some of the dentists that were coerced kind of into either being in net. A lot of people sign up in network because their office manager said, well, this is the way to get more patients, and that is absolutely accurate. You can get more patients, but do you want more patients and less money, or do you want a normal patient base with a normal amount of money? So you kind of have to make that decision. And a lot of people don't have a lot of confidence. They're like, well, if I don't sign up with being in network, I'm never going to get any patients to come see me. And that's so wrong. I
Mhm.
sincerely wish we could literally do an experiment where two dentists opened brand new practices, and one put a ton into marketing and one signed up in network, and see at the end of 5 years, what is the difference in the amount of money that they made and the amount of patients that they saw. Because people think you can only have a practice in network, and there's a lot of us out there that aren't in network and are doing just fine. So just stemming the tide, I think, when everybody was saying you need to be in network, and we're like, no, we don't and we won't. So, and we had patients ask also, they're like, well, can you go in network? And we're like, not and provide the kind of care that we want to.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, right, right. We can't work for everybody. This is
no,
what we
yeah,
do. This is what we specialize in. If you want to work, oh, come on, we'd be glad to have you. But
yeah.
we do have our business model.
Hmm.
You can respect that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so okay. So then where do you see where do you see actually what you're going to be doing in the next 5 or 10 years?
Um, we'll still be doing Matchmaker because it has been so much fun. If you've been a dentist for 30 years, and my husband's been doing dental business for 30 years,
Mhm.
um, to get to give that advice to people that are just coming out of school or that are going through a transition, and
Mhm.
be like, we can be your sounding board. We have been through everything you could possibly imagine.
Yes,
And if you want our advice, we can give it to you. And we do. We freely give our advice to a lot of
let's
different
say
people.
that.
So, I don't want to put all brokers out of business, but I think the system that dental brokers are working in now is not beneficial to most dentists. You do not want to have your life's work, um, and then sell it, and somebody else gets 10% of that life's work because they made an introduction to another dentist to you. That doesn't seem viable for me long term. I think dentists are intelligent and they're on the internet, and there's no reason why they can't find somebody to, purchase a practice from or hire, without a lot of interference from the middlemen who take a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, uh, um, you would have to be like where you are in order to, I mean, in other words, a company that doesn't have your business model may struggle to get, the kind of people that they need behind them to feel
Hmm.
comfortable in charging $30 for an
Hmm.
app or whatever have you. And
Yeah.
like you said, there might be small, what do you call them, brokers that just have a small little practice.
Yeah, I mean they do not give you the breadth of what we offer.
Yeah.
And because we offer a lot of other services, and we
Mhm.
even charge very cheaply for those services too, but we're doing it more because we see a need out there, and
Mhm.
not because we can charge a lot of money for it. It has been a lot of fun for us, so why would we overcharge somebody, to do something that we are enjoying very much? So.
Yeah, well, with all of that, I mean, I could see why. I mean, like, what's the sense in ever retiring if you're gonna like if this is because you're passionate, obviously, about what you do, and
Mhm.
if you are, I mean, why why stop? Why ever
And
stop?
we travel a great deal. We were gone for 6 weeks in Spain last year,
Oh wow,
but everything that we do, we can do via the internet. So as long
yeah,
as we have an internet connection,
right,
um, we're in business. So it has not decreased our flexibility. We travel a lot. We've got kids in all kinds of different places. So we're able to see them. We're going to see friends. It's nice to have this level of freedom and yet still feel like you are helping the world.
wow. I mean, like you're remote. You can do work anywhere in the world.
Yep.
You're helping people all over the country and some places in the other parts of the world.
Mhm.
Ah, wow. I mean, how wonderful technology has been for
Yeah,
you from that
absolutely.
standpoint.
Mhm.
Wow. So you have been so helpful in showing people another way of, of looking at out of network fee for service, creating or connecting with other dentists who might want to sell or buy,
Mhm.
uh, or just to get a job. I mean, that
Mhm.
community in and of itself just
Well, I think a lot of dentists when they exit school, they want to work for a private practice, but they just don't know how to find those jobs
yeah.
because they're not always on Indeed or any of the normal networks. So it's just and because it's free, I
Mhm.
think we get a lot more positions listed because people aren't having to pay $500 to list their position. It's like I just want there to be an easy way for people to match up. And we're pretty against DSOs. So if you own more than five practices, you're not allowed to be in our group.
Oh,
So yeah, so we're actually pushing business away because the dentists that own, 10, 12, 15 practices, we would be a gold mine for them because they could just find their people and not pay anything. And it's like, that's not what we designed this for. We designed it for smaller practices that need to find their buyer, need to find an associate. So it's not for the big corporations. We won't allow them in the group. So
I love that. I love that. I mean, I mean, not many, I haven't heard that conversation. This is a different kind of conversation, totally.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people are embracing the DSOs and I'm not. So, and we never will.
Yeah, well, I like the flexibility that you offer to any prospective buyer, any
Mhm.
prospective seller, and even, the large just circle of connections that you have for an
Mhm.
associate. I mean,
Yep.
it's just phenomenal. Um, is there anything that you would like to share with us before we go?
Yep. Our Our Facebook group is called Dental Practice Matchmaker, and our website where you can access some of our other services is called practicematchmaker.com. And then the app is dental.practicematchmaker. So we kind of are all out there. So join us.
Awesome. And so you do, I mean, the fact that you've been in the business for so long, you've been on various levels within the business.
Mhm.
Uh, you know how the nuts and bolts fit
I
inside of
do.
the business
Very
on the
much
business
so.
side. Consulting and no charge? My God.
I mean, we do charge, if you want a whole hour with us,
Yeah.
if we're just going back and forth on the internet, we don't charge. But if
Right.
you're there's a lot of people that have contacted us, they're trying to decide between two practices.
Hmm.
And we're pretty good at being able to figure out what would be the best practice for them. We do a
Hmm.
lot of due diligence. So if somebody's buying a practice and
Hmm.
is being offered for, say, 1.5 million and yet the numbers aren't really adding up. We do a really deep dive into everything and see, what's going on, or it might be a better practice than we anticipate, but sometimes it's not a perfect practice. So we don't ever say buy this practice or don't buy this practice. We say this is what we see within this practice. If you want to tackle this or if you don't want to tackle that, that's completely on you.
So do you all do the valuation yourself or do you?
We don't. So my husband's best friend is a CPA, and he also has every certification known to man, but he's also a business valuation I forgot what it's called, advocate or something like that. But he has the certification to do the valuation. So if somebody comes to us and says, I want to sell my practice, I don't have any idea how much it would be, we pass them on to him. And he can do a turnaround in less than 2 weeks. And he tells them, what the practice is for sale, how much it is. So, I mean, we have friends in a lot of different places in the dental world. So
Yes.
we can direct. We have a couple of law firms in the group.
Mhm.
We have a couple of accountants in the group. So we have people that we can count on or that we can refer to if it's not stuff that we're doing. But we do a decent amount.
When you say in the group, you're talking about the Facebook
The
group?
Facebook group,
Okay. And the name of that Facebook group again is?
Dental practice matchmaker.
Okay, dental practice matchmaker. Oh,
Mhm.
wow. I love that. I love it. So thank you so much, Doc,
You.
for coming in and giving some, I mean, some very important, impactful information to the community. You are definitely a stellar within the community
Thanks.
of
Mhm.
dentistry. And I don't know how much I can go into thanking you for spending this time with us. We
Well,
really,
it's been nice to be able to talk to somebody about it. So it's
yes,
nice on this side too.
and let's stay in touch and make
Absolutely.
sure that, if there's something new, something exciting that you guys are doing, we want to know.
Okay. We'll tell you.
All righty. Thanks much.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.